You were not supposed to find this stone, not like this, not now. And yet, here you are. There is something that happens when a person holds turquoise for the first time. Not everyone notices it, but some people, they go quiet. Not because they are bored, not because they are tired, because something inside them recognizes it, something old, something that was there before the life you are living right now. You were not told this. Nobody explained it to you. And that is exactly the problem. Because this stone is not what they told you it was. Most people look at turquoise and they see color. They see jewelry. They see culture. They see something beautiful to wear, something pretty to place on a shelf. That is what happens when ancient knowledge is passed through hands that do not understand it. The meaning gets lost. What remains is only the surface. But there is something underneath that surface that has been there for thousands of years. Something that does not change. No matter how many times the stone changes hands, no matter how far it travels from the land where it was first found. The stone carries something, not a power you activate, not a spell you cast, not protection you put on like armor. Something quieter than that, something that has been waiting. Before I go further, confirm you are already subscribed to this channel and write in the comments the country you are watching from. I want to know how far the knowledge of my people reaches. There is a reason this was never explained openly. There is a reason the elders would speak around it, not about it. In my culture, not everything is meant to be announced. Not everything is meant to be taught in a classroom or printed in a book. Some things are preserved, not hidden, preserved. There is a difference. When something is hidden, someone is keeping it from you. When something is preserved, it is being protected until you are ready to receive it. The knowledge around turquoise was preserved, passed through careful hands, spoken in quiet moments, held by those who understood that the wrong explanation does more damage than no explanation at all. What I am sharing with you today, it is not new. It is simply being heard, perhaps for the first time, by the right ears. Let me show you something. Think about the last time you felt completely yourself. Not the version of you that shows up for work. Not the version that performs for other people. Not the version that carries everyone else's expectations on its back. The real one. The one that appears in silence. In nature. In those rare moments when everything gets quiet and something inside you becomes still. That version of you, where did it come from? My people believe that every person carries within them an original self. Not the self shaped by experience and pain and years of living. The original one. The one that existed before all of that. The one that came into this world already knowing something. That original self does not disappear. It does not die. It waits. And sometimes, in very specific moments, it surfaces. A sudden sense of peace that you cannot explain. A moment of clarity that arrives without reason. A feeling of being exactly where you are supposed to be, even when nothing around you makes sense. Those are not accidents. Those are moments when your original self breaks through. Now, turquoise is connected to that original self, not because of magic, not because of some external force stored inside the stone, but because of what the stone represents, what it has always represented, long before anyone assigned it a meaning. The color itself, that blue, that green, the way it exists somewhere between sky and earth, between above and below, between what is seen and what is felt. My ancestors looked at that color and they did not see decoration. They saw a mirror. They saw the place where the spiritual world and the physical world meet. They called it the stone that lives in the space between sky and soil, between breath and silence, between who you are now and who you were before you forgot. That space, that in-between, is where your original self lives. Now I need to stop for a moment, because there is something you may have been told about this stone that needs to be addressed. You may have heard that turquoise protects you. You may have heard that it keeps away negative energy, that it shields you, that it guards your mind and your spirit from forces that wish you harm. And people carry that belief with such confidence, they wear the stone like armor. They wait for the protection to come. But here is what my elders taught me. The stone is not your protector. You are. The stone does not guard you. It reminds you of who you are, and who you are when you are fully present, when you are connected to your original self. is someone who does not need to be protected in the way most people think. Because most of the things people seek protection from are not external, they are internal. They are the parts of yourself that you have abandoned, the quiet voice you stopped listening to, the knowing you overrode with logic, the spiritual connection you let fall silent because the world got loud. Turquoise does not block anything. It calls something back. It calls you back. Back to the version of yourself that was never afraid, that never forgot where it came from, that never stopped knowing, even when the mind stopped listening. The protection you feel when you wear it, that is not the stone working. That is you remembering. When a person forgets their original self, things begin to shift, slowly, quietly, without announcement. The mind becomes louder, not with wisdom, with noise. Endless thoughts that loop and repeat and go nowhere. Questions that have no answers because they are not really questions. They are symptoms, symptoms of disconnection. The body becomes heavy, not from illness, from carrying things it was never meant to carry. Expectations that are not yours. Identities that were handed to you before you were old enough to choose. Versions of yourself built to survive in environments that were never truly safe. The decisions change, not because you become a bad person, but because when you are disconnected from your original self, you make choices from fear rather than knowing. You choose what keeps you safe instead of what moves you forward. You protect what exists instead of reaching toward what is possible. And the people around you feel it. Not in obvious ways, in small ones, the conversation that never quite reaches depth. The relationship that stays on the surface, even when both people want more. The family gathering where everyone is present, but somehow no one is truly there. Disconnection spreads outward from a person the same way that presence does. When you are lost to yourself, you cannot fully arrive for anyone else. This is not judgment. This is simply what happens. My people have watched this pattern for generations. They understood something that modern life has made it very easy to forget. Your spiritual connection is not a luxury. It is not something you return to when things get difficult. It is the foundation on which everything else is built. When the foundation is absent, everything above it is unstable. The stone, when understood properly, is a way of returning to the foundation. Not once, not in a ceremony, not in a single moment of awakening. Daily, quietly, consistently. A small act of remembering that keeps the thread intact. This is where most people expect a technique, a ritual, a method, a series of steps. But that is not what I will give you, because the problem was never that you lacked a technique. The problem was that you forgot something. And you cannot solve forgetting with more information. You solve it with attention. Here is what attention looks like in practice. When you hold this stone, or even when you look at it, pause. Not for long. 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Do not think about protection. Do not think about energy. Do not think about what you want it to do for you. Instead, ask yourself something, silently, without pressure, just as a question held in open hands. Who was I before I learned to be afraid? That is it. That is the whole practice. Because in the moment you ask that question, genuinely, without rushing past it, something in you becomes quiet. The noise steps back, and in that small space of quiet, the original self can surface. It does not need much room, it just needs to be invited. My ancestors knew this. They did not carry the stone to gain power. They carried it to stay honest. Honest about who they were beneath everything life had placed on top of them. And in that honesty, in that returning, they found something stronger than any external protection could ever offer. They found alignment. When a person is aligned with their original self, when what they think and what they feel and what they do are all moving in the same direction, something in the world around them changes. Not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily, consistently. The decisions get cleaner, the relationships get deeper, the mind becomes quiet in a way that has nothing to do with avoiding difficulty. It is quiet because you are no longer fighting yourself. And the stone, that small piece of the space between, becomes what it was always meant to be, not a talisman, not a tool, a thread that runs from the hand that holds it back through every generation that held it before you, back through the earth where it formed over thousands of years. back through the sky whose color it carries, back to whatever existed before all of this began. You are not separate from that thread. You never were. You simply stopped feeling it. There is a teaching in my culture that goes like this. The earth does not create things without purpose. Every stone, every plant, every element that comes from the ground, it carries a memory, a record of something. And when a person encounters the right thing at the right moment, it is not coincidence, it is recognition. You finding your way to this stone, or this stone finding its way to you, it is not random. Something in you was ready to remember. Not everything, not all at once, but something. And that is enough to begin. My people do not believe in overnight transformation. They believe in slow, steady return. The way the sun does not leap into the sky, it rises gently, without force. And by the time you notice it, the world is already different. You are in the process of that kind of rising. You may not feel it yet. You may still feel heavy, disconnected, unsure of where you belong or who you are beneath the life you have been living. That is okay. The stone does not require that you arrive already whole. It only asks that you are willing to remember. And remembering begins the moment you stop looking at this stone as an object, the moment you start looking at it as a message. From the earth, from those who came before, from the version of yourself that has been waiting, patiently, without complaint, for you to return. That version is still there. It has always been there. It is not lost. It is preserved. And now, perhaps for the first time, you are beginning to hear it. That quiet, that familiar stillness. That is not the stone speaking. That is you, finally remembering.